In the frontline town of Zolote, the sound of shelling has given way to the sound of steamrollers. The foreman says this company was working even before the ceasefire was renewed in late July, but is making much faster progress now.
With this ceasefire, it's easier to work because you're not afraid that some rocket is going to come flying in at you. It's much easier. Before, you'd be afraid. Every day you'd wonder, is it worth laying the asphalt today or not? It was scary, and now it's not.
Prior to the 27th of July, the number of weekly ceasefire violations recorded in Donbas by OSCE observers regularly ran into the thousands. Since then, it's been a few dozen at most. The head of Zolote's military-civilian administration is delighted with the progress on road building. But the main benefit of the ceasefire, of course, is safety for people and property.
The damage to people's homes has stopped. Before the ceasefire, we'd have to go out every week and tour the damage. So I very much hope this truce continues and that things can be worked out diplomatically.
Yet the situation remains tense. Invisible in the fog here is the village of Shumi, and beyond it, the front line. In September, the leader of the so-called Donetsk People's Republic threatened to shell Ukrainian positions here.
He accused us of taking new positions on the front line and threatened to attack them. I must stress that we haven't taken a single step forward since the ceasefire was announced. Maybe it was his initiative to show his Russian handlers that he was in some way worth something, or maybe he had orders to destabilize the situation on the front line.
Controversially, Ukraine agreed to an inspection of the area by forces from the other side, and the threat was not carried out. Igor and Slavik, who work as guards at a closed-down mine here, appreciate the newfound quiet.
They're not shooting. Things have changed for the better.
This is the best observed ceasefire yet.
But the men have a different complaint. Local elections to be held across Ukraine on Sunday will not be being held here.
Why will they not hold the elections here? We'd like to know. Are we not people?
It's not because it's dangerous, they just don't want to let us vote.
Because we wouldn't vote for who they want, that's all.
They mean they'd vote for the heirs of ex-President Viktor Yanukovych's Party of Regions, commonly referred to as pro-Russian and driven from power in the 2014 revolution. Its successor parties dominate local politics in Kostiantynivka, the nearest town to Toretsk where elections are happening. Their activists often object to the pro-Russian label.
Why pro-Russian? Just because we speak Russian, that's all. We need to develop good relations with all countries.
The party's posters, though, focus on improving relations with Russia. Luda and Valia fully approve. In this town, the most radical opponents of that attitude are in the Green Party. One of its candidates, Gennady Popieluski, is building an ecological house out of straw on the edge of town. The state gave him this land after he served for 4.5 years in the army.
There'll be a stove here, just here, which will heat 4 rooms.
As a veteran of the current war, Gennady has no doubts about Russia's involvement.
If it weren't for the Russians, the war would have ended in 2014.
He despairs of those who still vote for the pro-Russian parties.
It's the same old Party of Regions, the party that destroyed the Ukrainian army when it was in power and brought the Russians here. And now they say they're for peace.
Yet amid widespread disappointment in the post-revolutionary governments, former Party of Regions politicians are making a comeback all over Ukraine. But Gennady and his colleagues are convinced they won't get that far.
The old-fashioned mentalities are changing.
Change is happening, but slowly. Not as fast as we'd like. But the Berlin Wall, so to speak, is still moving eastwards.
Pro-Europeans in Donbas are still looking resolutely westward, while the war here shows signs that it may be turning into another frozen conflict.